Amara Okafor had never imagined life would bring her this far from home. At 25, she lived alone in Seoul, a city that never truly slept, a city that still didn't feel like home. Every morning she woke before sunrise, worked as a receptionist at one of the city's luxury hotels, then spent her evenings tutoring English to international students, not because she loved working two jobs, because she had no choice. Back in Nigeria, her widowed mother depended on the money she sent every month. So did her two younger siblings. Every paycheck disappeared almost as quickly as it arrived. Bills, medicine, school fees, rent. Sometimes she wondered what it felt like to buy something simply because she wanted it. She couldn't remember. Yet, despite everything, Amara never stopped smiling, not because life was easy, but because she refused to let life steal her kindness. Across the city, another life looked perfect from the outside. Kang Ji-hoon, 30 years old, CEO of the prestigious Kang Horizon Group, luxury hotels, resorts, real estate. His family owned an empire worth billions. Business magazines called him Korea's most eligible bachelor. Investors admired him. Employees respected him. The media followed his every move. People assumed he had everything. They were wrong. Behind every expensive suit was a man carrying expectations heavier than any fortune. Every decision he made belonged to someone else. His parents, his family's reputation, their company, their legacy. Some nights, he drove through Seoul alone, without bodyguards, without assistants, without anyone recognizing him, just to remember what it felt like to breathe. One chilly autumn evening, those two completely different worlds crossed paths. Amara had just finished tutoring her last student. She wrapped her scarf tighter around her neck as she walked toward the subway station. The streets were busy, cars rushed past, people hurried home. Then, someone collapsed. An elderly man fell hard onto the pavement near a pedestrian crossing. His grocery bags scattered across the road for a moment. Everyone looked, nobody moved. Some slowed down, others simply walked around him. Amara didn't hesitate. She dropped her own bag and ran. "Sir?" She knelt beside him. The old man struggled to breathe. His hands trembled. She immediately reached for her phone. "I'm calling an ambulance." Before she could dial, another voice spoke behind her. "I already did." She turned. A tall man wearing a dark jacket and a black baseball cap knelt beside them. His calm voice immediately steadied the situation. Together, they helped the elderly man sit carefully against a nearby bench. Amara held his hand. "It's okay. Help is coming." The stranger removed his jacket and folded it beneath the man's head. Several anxious minutes passed. Then ambulance sirens echoed through the street. The paramedics arrived. The elderly man was safely taken away. Before climbing into the ambulance, he looked at both of them with tearful eyes. "Thank you," Amara smiled warmly. "You'll be all right." The ambulance doors closed. Silence returned. She picked up her bag, turned toward the stranger. "Thank you for helping." He smiled politely. "No. Thank you." She laughed softly. "I should get home." He nodded. "So should I." Neither asked for a name. Neither expected to meet again. Amara disappeared into the evening crowd. The stranger watched her leave. Something about her stayed with him. Not her beauty, although she was beautiful. It was the way she'd rushed to help someone everyone else ignored. There had been no cameras, no audience, no reward, only kindness. And somehow, that lingered in his mind long after she was gone. 3 days later. Amara arrived at work as usual. The lobby buzzed with wealthy guests checking in. Business meetings, luxury cars pulling up outside. Everything looked normal, until whispers spread among the staff. "The CEO is here." He came without telling anyone. Everyone immediately became nervous. Managers straightened their jackets. Employees checked every corner twice. Amara frowned. She had never met the company's CEO before. She simply continued welcoming guests with her usual smile. A few moments later, the lobby doors opened. A group of executives walked inside. In the middle of them was the man from the street. Amara blinked. No baseball cap, no casual jacket. Instead, an impeccably tailored charcoal suit, polished shoes, confident posture. The executives followed him with absolute respect. Only then did she realize the stranger who had helped her that night was Kang Ji-hoon, the owner of the very hotel where she worked. Ji-hoon stopped walking. Their eyes met. Recognition flashed across both their faces. For the first time that morning, the usually expressionless CEO smiled. A genuine smile, one that surprised every executive standing beside him. He walked toward the reception desk. "You work here?" Amara smiled awkwardly. "I was about to ask you the same thing." He laughed quietly. The managers nearly fainted. They had never seen their CEO laugh during an inspection. "I'm glad to see you again," he said. She nodded. "I'm glad the elderly gentleman recovered." "So am I." For several seconds, neither moved. Neither seemed eager to end the conversation, until one of the executives cleared his throat. "Sir." Ji-hoon looked away reluctantly. "Right. Work." He gave Amara one last smile before continuing his inspection. Amara watched him disappear into the elevator. She had no idea. That meeting would become the beginning of a love story neither of them could escape. Ji-hoon couldn't stop thinking about her, which irritated him. He had negotiated billion-dollar contracts without losing focus, yet somehow a receptionist with a warm smile occupied his thoughts more than any business meeting. Over the following weeks, his visits to the hotel became more frequent. Officially, he was inspecting company operations. Unofficially, he found himself looking toward the reception desk first, every single time. Amara noticed it too. At first, she assumed it was coincidence, but coincidences didn't happen 5 times in 2 weeks. Whenever Ji-hoon arrived, he somehow found a reason to stop by the reception, sometimes asking about guest feedback, sometimes complimenting the staff, sometimes simply saying hello. The other employees quickly noticed. Whispers spread through the hotel. The CEO smiled again. "Did you see who he was talking to? I've worked here for 6 years. I've never seen him act like that." Amara pretended not to hear. She didn't want unnecessary attention. One afternoon, she was leaving work when someone called her name. "Miss Okafor." She turned. Ji-hoon stood beside a black luxury sedan. He smiled. "I was heading in the same direction." "Can I give you a ride?" Amara hesitated. She had never accepted rides from strangers, especially rich strangers. But after everything, he didn't feel like one anymore. She smiled politely. "Only if it's not out of your way." It isn't. It was. But he wasn't about to admit that. The drive was unexpectedly comfortable. No awkward silence, no forced conversation. Instead, they talked about ordinary things. Favorite books, music, travel, family. For the first time in years, Ji-hoon found himself laughing freely. Not because he had to, because he genuinely enjoyed her company. As they stopped at a traffic light, Amara looked out the window. "The city is beautiful at night." Ji-hoon glanced at her. "It is," then quietly added, "but it looks different when you're sharing it with someone." She turned toward him. Their eyes met. Neither spoke. The green light interrupted the moment. When he dropped her off, neither moved immediately. Ji-hoon rested both hands on the steering wheel, then took a quiet breath. "I know this might sound sudden." Amara looked at him curiously. "But would you have dinner with me?" She blinked. "As a date?" He smiled. "If you'll let it be." For a moment, she forgot how to speak. Nobody had ever looked at her the way he did. Not because of what she could offer, not because of pity, simply because he wanted to know her. Slowly, she smiled. "I'd like that." Ji-hoon's smile became brighter than she'd ever seen. "Tomorrow?" She nodded. "Tomorrow." The following evening, Ji-hoon didn't take her to an expensive restaurant. No flashing cameras, no luxury hotel. Instead, he drove to a quiet riverside park where food trucks lined the walkway. They bought hot chocolate, shared grilled sandwiches, and walked beside the gently flowing river. The city lights reflected across the water like thousands of tiny stars. Amara laughed. "I thought billionaires only ate at 5-star restaurants." Ji-hoon chuckled. "Sometimes. But I've always preferred places where people forget who I am." She looked at him. "Do you ever get tired?" His smile faded slightly. "Every day." She didn't ask why. She simply continued walking beside him. Somehow, that silence understood him better than words ever could. As they reached a small wooden bridge, Ji-hoon stopped. "I'm glad we met." Amara smiled softly. "So am I." For a brief moment, neither noticed how close they had become, until a cold breeze swept across the river. Without thinking, Ji-hoon removed his coat and gently placed it over her shoulders. She looked at him. "Thank you." His eyes never left hers. "You're welcome." For just a second, it felt as though the entire world had disappeared. Unfortunately, someone else had been watching. Across the street, a woman sat inside a luxury car. Elegant, beautiful, perfectly dressed. her nails dug into the leather seat. Han So-rin. She had known Ji-hoon since childhood. Their parents had always spoken of marriage, business mergers, the future. She had spent years believing it was only a matter of time, until now, until this woman appeared. So-rin stared through the windshield, watching Ji-hoon smile at someone else, a smile he had never given her. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Who are you?" That same night, the Kang family gathered for dinner. Ji-hoon's father placed his chopsticks down. "We had dinner with the Han family today." Ji-hoon already knew where this was going. "They're asking about the engagement." Silence. His mother smiled. "So-rin has always cared about you. You've known each other since childhood." His father nodded. "She's the perfect wife." Ji-hoon calmly looked up. "I'm not marrying someone because our companies want me to." The dining room fell silent. His father's expression hardened. "You have responsibilities." Ji-hoon's voice remained steady. "I also have the right to choose who I love." His mother exchanged worried glances with his father. Neither of them realized their son had already chosen. Later that night, Amara lay awake in bed. She smiled as she remembered the evening beside the river, the conversations, his laughter, the way he had looked at her. Then, her smile slowly faded. She knew people like Ji-hoon lived in a completely different world, a world she didn't belong to. She whispered quietly into the darkness. This could never work, even though, deep inside, her heart had already begun to fall for him. Love has a strange way of making time disappear. Days became weeks, weeks became months. Ji-hoon and Amara grew closer with every passing day. He learned she loved reading by the Han River, so he began bringing her new books every Friday. Not expensive gifts, just novels he thought she'd enjoy. She learned he often skipped meals because of work, so sometimes she packed homemade lunches, nothing fancy, just simple Nigerian dishes she cooked herself. The first time Ji-hoon tasted jollof rice, he smiled. "I've eaten in Michelin-star restaurants, but this," he looked at her, "might be my favorite meal." She laughed. "You're lying." "I'm not." For the first time in years, Ji-hoon felt genuinely happy, not because business was successful, not because his company made another billion, because of her. One evening, as they walked beside the river, he quietly reached for her hand. She looked down, then back at him. Without saying a word, she intertwined her fingers with his. Neither noticed the photographer hidden across the street. The camera shutter clicked, again and again. The following morning, the photographs were everywhere. CEO Kang Ji-hoon dating foreign woman. Mystery African woman captures billionaire's heart. News websites exploded. Social media became ruthless. Thousands congratulated them. Thousands more didn't. The comments became cruel. She only wants his money. Foreign women always trap rich men. She'll never belong in Korea. She isn't good enough for him. Amara stared at her phone. Every new comment hurt a little more. At the Kang mansion, Ji-hoon's parents were furious. His father slammed the newspaper onto the table. "This ends today." His mother looked equally upset. "Think about our family, our reputation, our shareholders." Ji-hoon remained calm. "My private life isn't a business contract." His father stood. "It became one the moment you were born." Silence. Then came the sentence Ji-hoon had feared. "If you continue this relationship, don't expect our blessing." Meanwhile, So-rin watched everything unfold. She smiled, not because Ji-hoon was suffering, because she finally saw an opportunity. The next day, she visited Amara at the hotel, elegant, confident, perfectly dressed. Every employee admired her immediately. She approached the reception desk. "You must be Amara." Amara smiled politely. "And you are?" "Han So-rin." The name meant nothing, yet something about her smile felt cold. "Could we talk?" Amara agreed. They sat inside a quiet cafe nearby. So-rin stirred her coffee slowly. "You seem like a nice woman." Amara thanked her. Then So-rin looked directly into her eyes. "But you'll never be accepted." Silence. "Our families have planned Ji-hoon's future since we were children." "You don't belong in his world." Amara remained calm. "I didn't ask to fall in love." So-rin smiled. "But you'll be the only one who gets hurt." She stood, straightened her coat, then quietly added, "Sometimes, loving someone means knowing when to leave." That conversation stayed with Amara for days. Every hateful comment online, every strange look from strangers, every article, every insult, they slowly chipped away at her heart. One afternoon, she visited her mother through a video call. Her younger siblings laughed in the background. Her mother smiled warmly. "You look happy." Amara forced a smile. "I am." Her mother studied her face. "But something is worrying you." Tears almost escaped. She quickly changed the subject. She didn't want her family carrying her burdens too. Ji-hoon noticed the change immediately. "You've been quiet lately." She smiled. "I'm just tired." He knew she was lying, but he didn't push. Instead, he gently hugged her. "I'll protect you." She closed her eyes. She wanted to believe him. More than anything. Days later, Ji-hoon made a decision. He invited Amara to a formal charity gala. The city's wealthiest families would be there. Business leaders, politicians, celebrities. "I don't belong there," she whispered. "You belong wherever I am." She spent hours choosing a dress. Simple, elegant, emerald green. When Ji-hoon saw her, he forgot how to breathe. "You look," he smiled, "beautiful." She blushed. "So do you." They entered the ballroom together. Hundreds of eyes immediately turned toward them. The whispers began. Some smiled politely, others didn't hide their disapproval. Still, Ji-hoon proudly held her hand. He refused to let go. Then, his father walked onto the stage. The room became silent. He welcomed everyone, spoke about the company's future, then smiled. "We also have another announcement." Ji-hoon's smile disappeared. He already knew. His father continued. "Our family is delighted to continue our long relationship with the Han family." He motioned towards So-rin. She walked gracefully onto the stage. Then, before Ji-hoon could react, his father announced, "We look forward to celebrating my son's engagement to Miss Han So-rin." Silence. The ballroom erupted into applause. Amara's heart stopped. She slowly turned toward Ji-hoon. His face had gone completely pale. "I didn't know," he whispered desperately. "I swear, I didn't know." But the damage had already been done. Amara stepped backward. One tear escaped her eye, then another. Without saying a single word, she turned and walked away. Ji-hoon called after her. "Amara!" She never looked back. Amara disappeared without looking back. She ignored Ji-hoon's calls, his messages, his desperate apologies. For 3 days, she locked herself inside her apartment, crying until there were no tears left. She wasn't angry, she was heartbroken, because for one brief moment, she had believed fairy tales could be real. Meanwhile, Ji-hoon had declared war inside his own home. "I never agreed to any engagement." His father's face remained cold. "You don't have to." "The announcement has already been made." Ji-hoon's jaw tightened. "You humiliated the woman I love." His mother sighed. "This isn't about love. It's about family." "No." Ji-hoon looked directly at both of them. "It's about control." He walked out, leaving the mansion behind. For the first time in his life, he chose himself. The following morning, every news outlet reported the engagement. So-rin smiled for the cameras, pretending everything was perfect. But behind closed doors, she knew the truth. Ji-hoon's heart had never belonged to her. That evening, she visited him. "You'll learn to love me." Ji-hoon calmly looked at her. "I never will." Her smile disappeared. "What does she have that I don't?" He answered without hesitation. "A heart that loves without asking for anything in return." So-rin lowered her eyes. For the first time, she realized she had already lost. Days later, Ji-hoon found Amara. She was sitting alone beside the Han River, watching the water flow quietly beneath the bridge. He didn't sit beside her immediately. Instead, he stood a few steps away. "I've been looking everywhere." She remained silent. After several moments, he finally spoke. "I didn't know about the announcement. I swear to you, I would never betray you." Still, she said nothing. Finally, she looked at him. "My whole life. I've fought to belong somewhere." Her voice trembled. "When I met you, I thought maybe. I finally had." Tears filled Ji-hoon's eyes. "You do." She shook her head. "Not in your world." He slowly knelt in front of her. "I don't care about my world anymore. I only care about ours." Silence. The river flowed quietly beside them. Then, for the first time in days, Amara cried. Not because she was breaking, because she was finally letting someone hold the weight with her. Ji-hoon wrapped his arms around her, and she didn't pull away. Unfortunately, someone else was watching. So-rin, standing across the street, her hands trembled, not with jealousy anymore, with regret. She finally understood love could never be forced. That night, she walked into the Kang mansion. She placed the engagement ring on the dining table. then looked at Ji-hoon's parents. I'm ending this. Both of them stared in disbelief. Ji-hoon deserves to be with the woman he loves. His mother stood. But, So-rin smiled sadly, I spent years trying to win someone whose heart already belonged to another. She bowed politely, then quietly left, never looking back. Weeks passed. The media slowly lost interest. The scandal faded. Business returned to normal. Life moved on. One afternoon, Ji-hoon invited Amara to visit the company headquarters. She hesitated. Everyone there would recognize her. He smiled. Trust me. When they arrived, every employee stood. They weren't staring with judgment. They were smiling. One by one, they applauded. Amara looked around in confusion. Then the hotel manager stepped forward. You inspired us. She blinked. What? We saw how hard you worked. How kind you were. You earned everyone's respect. Tears filled her eyes. For the first time, she felt accepted, not because she was dating the CEO, because she had remained herself. Months later, Ji-hoon's parents quietly invited Amara to dinner. The atmosphere was awkward. No one knew what to say, until Ji-hoon's mother finally spoke. I owe you an apology. Amara looked surprised. I judged you before knowing you. His father lowered his eyes. I confused status with character. Silence. Then he slowly smiled. You've proven us wrong. Amara smiled gently. Thank you. It wasn't perfect, but it was a beginning. 1 year later, spring arrived in Seoul. Cherry blossoms danced through the air. The same riverside where everything had changed now held another memory. Ji-hoon stood beneath the blossoms, a small velvet box in his hand. Amara laughed softly. You look nervous. I am. He smiled. I've negotiated billion-dollar deals, but this is the hardest thing I've ever done. She laughed. He slowly knelt. Amara Okafor, you taught me that love isn't about family names, or money, or where someone comes from. It's about choosing each other. Every single day he opened the ring box. Will you marry me? Tears streamed down her face. She covered her mouth, then nodded. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. He slipped the ring onto her finger, as people nearby applauded. Neither of them noticed. They only saw each other. Months later, their wedding was simple, beautiful, filled with two cultures becoming one. Korean traditions, Nigerian traditions, two families, one future. Ji-hoon's parents smiled proudly. Amara's mother cried tears of joy. Even So-rin attended quietly. She congratulated them with a sincere smile, having finally found peace within herself. As the evening ended, Ji-hoon pulled Amara onto the dance floor. He smiled. Funny. What? If that old man hadn't collapsed, we never would have met. Amara laughed. Maybe fate just needed an excuse. He kissed her forehead. I'd choose you. In every lifetime. She smiled through happy tears, and I'd still run to help that old man. They both laughed. Under a sky filled with stars, proof that love doesn't recognize borders, only hearts brave enough to choose each other. The end.